Will the Tanaiste agree that her €100 benefit against water charges is an utterly inadequate response to the uprising of ordinary people against this latest austerity tax?
Tanaiste.
The Department of Social Protection will spend €230 million this year on the household benefits package for almost 415,000 customers. The fuel allowance is paid for 26 weeks from October to April to almost 415,000 households at an estimated cost of €208 million in 2014. So that's well over €430 million between the two schemes will be spent in 2014. I announced in Budget 2015 that recipients of both the household benefits package and/or the fuel allowance will also get an annual environmental water support payment of €100. This will benefit 650,000 households at an annual cost in the region of €66 million. The combination of both household benefits and fuel allowances as qualifying payments is to ensure that the payment is made to people who are most likely to be impacted by the charges. And this is obviously in addition to payments to be made directly via tax credits as announced by the Minister for Finance. So work is underway in developing the systems development required to put the payments into effect in 2015. These payments are in addition to the payment which will be made in December of the restoration of 25% of the annual Christmas bonus, which was unfortunately discontinued by the previous government in 2009. And the Christmas bonus will go in the first half of December to some 1.1 million people. In addition then, in the first week of January, as I'm sure the Deputy is aware, the families who receive child benefit will receive an increase in the monthly child benefit per child of €5.
Thank you,
so I'm happy to say that in Budget 2015, the first budget in a number of years, we have actually been able to have a modest but very significant social welfare package to improve the situation, as well as a tax reduction package in taking 80,000 people out of the USC and reducing the rate of USC for people on the first two lower rates of USC.
Tanaiste, you weren't asked about fuel allowances or Christmas bonuses or anything else. You were asked about the crushing new burden that your government has put on ordinary people, including poor people, and to deal with it. Tanaiste, the Minister for the Environment and the Chief Executive of Irish Water made some shape at an apology in the last days to the Irish people for the calamity that is the attempted introduction of water charges. Can I ask you if you'll take this opportunity to make your very own apology for your culpability in water charges? And will you agree that your 100 allowance against water charges bills is a panic response to an uprising of ordinary people around the country against your latest crucifying austerity taxes on them? And will you take this opportunity, which you never have, to apologise for the cynical deception that you engaged in during the last general election, when you promised to save people from €238 of Fine Gael's water tax? Now, can I ask you, therefore, if you'll agree that your €100 in no way makes up for Labour's treachery in this regard? Will you apologise to the 5,000 residents of the Dublin West constituency you're supposed to represent, who turned out in a determined opposition to water charges, demanding their abolition on Saturday in Blanchardstown? And despite how out of touch you and your government are with ordinary people in regard to this issue, will you recognise that your last-minute panic responses will not save your political hides? Just abolish the water charges.
Thank you. Tanaiste.
Well, Deputy, I have to say that it probably escaped your notice. Perhaps you were away at the time, but I actually announced the water support payment as far back as July. Not only that, but it's written into the document that myself and the Taoiseach agreed in the first week of July. So it's a matter of public record now over a long period of time. It may have escaped your notice, but it was fully publicly announced then and printed, I think, and mentioned in almost all media. But obviously you didn't spot it, but you did spot it obviously in more recent times. But it was announced then, and I just want to say that it was announced as far back as then, because it was my concern to ensure that people on a social welfare payment, households who are dependent on a social welfare payment, would get additional support in relation to water. Now, what is also absolutely essential is that this country and all of the people in it, including the people that I have the honour to represent in Dublin West, have a clean supply of high-quality drinkable water.
Thank you, Tanaiste.
That is absolutely essential that they should have that. And secondly, that the people of Ireland, and indeed the people of my constituency in Dublin West, will have an opportunity to find employment in tourism, in agriculture and in industry and in other fields of business heavily dependent on clean, good water supply.
Thank you, Tanaiste.
The difference is, the difficulty, Deputy, which you don't recognise, is that requires a huge level of state investment over the next 10 years, and in order to fix all those issues around people not being able to properly drink water. This time last year, all of the Dublin region being threatened with the closure of pubs and hotels because of inadequate water supplies.
Thank you. Deputy Higgins.
The difficulty, Tanaiste, is that you reversed everything you said for 10 years in here in opposition, when you pretended to be the champion of working class people out there. And once you got into power, you decided that you would lash another austerity tax in the form of water charges on them, and you wouldn't even look at the millionaires and billionaires who, yes, could afford a few hundred million and who could afford to pay for the investment that is needed. And you saddled those people. And let's forget this nonsense that there's no clarity and no communication. There is communication. People understand that a family of 4, including an 18 and a 19-year-old and 2 adults, that you want them to pay next year just under €500, a family of 5 similarly under €600, and when metering comes in, that would rise inexorably. People are not stupid. Don't treat them as being stupid. There is an absolute uprising of working class people out there that you don't seem to recognise, although your government admittedly is dazed, is pummeled, is punch-drunk and panic-stricken, and so it should be you are staggering from one crutch to another to try and extricate yourself from the situation. Labour backbenchers have the demeanour of the politically condemned, and so they should have, because they will be wiped out in the next election if you persist with this. Now, the court of Marie Antoinette couldn't be more out of touch with the suffering and the realities of life for ordinary working people than the Labour Party and this government. Get real. Forget your €100 and everything else. Abolish the water charges and do it forthwith.
Final reply.
Is that the suggestions and the scaremongering that you've just now been undertaken in relation to levels of charges is that I am perfectly happy to say that it is my view that the charge in relation to the type of family or the type of household you've indicated will be below €200, and that the water support payment of €100 will actually help to defray the cost to be faced by households of single individuals and households where there are 2 or more people. I think, Deputy, in terms of the figures that you've announced, you're very, very wide of the mark. But what people will get for those figures is people will get what this country needs. You talked about my responsibility. My responsibility in relation to the country and Dublin West is to help to get people back to work so that they can actually become financially independent. We do not need, as you seem to need, you seem to want everybody to be on social welfare. Actually, in this country, we need people to be at work, and I'm perfectly happy that the level of water charges will be actually modest and that they will provide for this country a supply of clean water.
Thank you.
Well, most of your
constituents say...
That concludes
question time.